We are in Jonah chapter 2 and been sort of walking our way through this book that is obviously not about a fish. It's about a prophet who has a very warped understanding of how he is to understand himself, his identity. It's very skewed by some national pride that is taking him into some bad places. Talked about the fact that there's different ways of knowing, Greek and Hebrew ways of knowing. Greek is very academic, Hebrew is very experiential. Talked about the fact that Jonah's prayer in chapter 2 is sincere, but that it's not lasting, that most everybody is going to crash. You sort of don't have a choice about that. At some point, there's suffering and pain that is introduced to us. We don't have to crash because we're making bad decisions, but generally we don't change until we do start to suffer some of the ill effects of bad decisions. Not everybody who crashes does change. Not everybody who changes is gonna change in ways that are gonna last. So we've talked about all that stuff. I want to mention a couple points that are made in a book that was a sort of a contemporary classic, J.I. Packer's book, Knowing God, which he wrote back in the 70s. I looked at it recently. It's a little bit more dense than I remember it being. I think we continue to sort of dumb down as a society. But it's a good book, and I would commend it to you. And he makes a couple points in here that are 3 points that I wanna reference. One of them is that we need to understand that there are moral ill deserts that come our way, that we're going to reap what we sow. Packer writes about that. We're going to reap what we sow. And in a culture that tells us that cultures are neutral, and we're sort of shifting out of that a little bit, but it's been a big theme. We're sort of coming out of a moral relativism a few decades, and we've now moved back into, if you have the wrong views, you can't just say, well, every view is the same. People now, if you have the wrong views, you get canceled. So it's a little bit different, but there's still this idea that we get to make up our own truth. You do you, and whatever works for you, and whatever you want to believe is fine. And this is all, it's a big topic, and it's complicated because we're living in a pluralistic culture or society, moment, whatever. And there's senses in which we want some of those religious liberty, freedom kinds of things for everybody to believe what they want to believe and do what they want to do. But there are repercussions for what we do. And we can't simply say that our actions are, fine, whatever they are. There is a natural law. I had this debate a couple days ago with a friend who's an atheist, and was trying to understand his view better. And when he talked about some of the ways the universe is structured, when I use the term natural law, he goes, no, there's no natural law. And that's because there's this idea that there is a moral order, that there is a spiritual set of eternal truths. I tried to smuggle that in. He rejected it. But I think it's true. We don't break God's laws ultimately. We break ourselves against God's laws. It may be that there's a long lag between when we do what's wrong and the penalty for that. Even the penalty may not be overt. It may be that it's just we become spiritually malformed and we suffer from that. The second thing is we need to recognize our need for a new life, a new birth. We are not able to profoundly change our heart, right? We can position ourselves for God to change our heart. We can go down the right path so that our heart will be changed. But I don't have the ability to just say, I'm going to cleanse my heart and not be angry ever again over things that shouldn't make me angry. I don't have that ability. But I can do the things that God calls on me to do that will direct my heart. And it will not only direct my heart, it will put me in a position where the Spirit of God can do the kind of spiritual transformative work that I can't do. And then the third thing is that we have to understand our need for grace. And the story I've tell here, and I've told it numerous times. So 10, 11 years ago now, I had a dissection. in my neck that led to a stroke, and I found myself in the neuro ICU unit downtown Chicago, and it was a very challenging time, and I had sort of no ability to control my body. It was a brainstem stroke, and that's all the default or all the sort of unconscious things you do, like focus your eyes and have a sense of balance and breathe. Many people die that have the stroke I had. And swallow. And part of my throat was paralyzed, and so I am repeatedly choking on my own saliva. And Sherry would have to roll me onto my side. So there was a nurse for two of us. And if I was in my own room, and if the nurse was not in that room, Sherry realized this, if the nurse was caring for the other patient, I could choke at that point. And so she was there 24/7. And repeatedly, she would be rolling me onto my side so I could sort of drool into this cup. And at one point, I said to her, I'm so sorry. And she said, yeah, well, it is what it is. And I said, well, I said, you didn't sign up for this. And she said, well, yeah, no, I sort of did. I mean, this is what marriage looks like, right? You sign up for better or worse, yeah. And I said, but you didn't choose this. And she goes, well, no, you didn't choose this, I didn't choose this. But yeah, but I signed up for this and it's fine. And I said, well, I can't do anything for you. I can't, return the favor, so to speak. She goes, oh yeah, no, that's for sure, that's true. You can't do anything. Like you're right now, you're taking, you're not giving. She goes, yeah, but that's okay. And I said, well, it doesn't feel okay. I don't. She goes, Mike, this is grace. Like I am caring for you now. You don't earn it. You haven't deserved it, right? But I'm caring for you, and it's grace, and I'm giving you what you can't earn. And I said, yeah, I don't like grace. I want to earn. And she goes, well, indeed, you speak a lot about grace, but I've never thought you really understood grace. You very much you live in a meritocracy in your own head, and you've never really understood grace. And so there's a sense in which I understood grace academically. I could explain it the Greek way, right? So I had a Greek knowledge of grace, but I didn't have a Hebrew knowledge of grace. And that dichotomy is it's forced, it's a little forced. I'm overstating this, but that is the way people tend to talk about it. And so I lacked the full understanding of what grace and mercy looked like. So we just need to be aware of these things. I think the book of Jonah helps flesh these out a little bit for us. We need to be alert to the moral ill, to the repercussions. We reap what we sow. We need to be aware of the fact that we can't change our heart. We need to be aware of our need for God to do that, and that is an act of grace. So much in this book. As I've said, if you think it's about the fish, you just are missing the big picture here. Great book, the book of Jonah. Have a good day.